Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. So glad that you're here and thank you very much for coming to spend a little bit of time with me. This week I'm talking about love letters to self. It actually covers quite a few subjects within as examples in order to remind us the importance of, hey, making sure that you are actually, keeping yourself as a priority in your life, because as we all know, if we leave that in the hands of others, we might be waiting a very long time. So when life seems to pile on top of us and we've lost our mojo for life and we are tired and feel unattractive, unappreciated, feeling blah, we may have stopped writing love letters to ourselves in a manner that displays we are truly taking care of me, of you, of ourselves. We can wait a long time for our significant others or family members to treat us with respect, kindly. That being taken for granted really hurts, especially if bad behaviour has been the normal for years. We dig deep to find their winning qualities in order to justify it, in order for our lives to make sense. So we can end up blaming ourselves, saying nothing because it would be fruitless to say it, or it feels like it. Or would it? Unfortunately, by saying nothing, we send the message that we're all good and that we're happy enough and all is under control. If you look at your list of have-tos compared to theirs, it would be nothing less than pathetic in comparison. Showing ourselves kindness is often harder than showing strangers kindness. Isn't that interesting? But so true. And I mean, if that rings true with you a little bit, you'll be nodding, going, Anyway, here's a little story. Once upon a time, there was a woman who turned 60 and noticed that she lived in the same suburb her whole life. Now, while this is not my story, it's many folks out there. It's their story. It's like giving your bedroom a deep spring clean. The day just comes and it feels great. Meanwhile, the woman in our story today, this woman had dreamt of travelling, leaving her wife or husband, but waiting till the kids started high school first. Here begins all the reasons that we don't move on. It's so subtle. We don't realise how treacherous it's going to be to get out. So this woman waited until the kids left high school. Then when they started uni, so once they got married, and then once the grandkids are here, and once the grandkids start high school, you see where I'm going with all of this, and I know that's so many of our stories. She may have squeezed in some travel along the way, but as she grew older, she knew she was locked in with helping her kids get their first house, then cleaning their homes and looking after the kids. Maybe she's walking their dogs. Maybe she's even helping them with their businesses. Finally, she woke up on her 68th birthday and decided it was time. She sold everything she had except for her essential items, which she threw into a backpack and began her journey around the world. #writing that love letter to herself. It started out amazing, and it was a huge breath of fresh air to real freedom, just to feel it, that she had gifted herself. It felt like her dreams were finally coming true. And as the weeks passed, she found herself feeling an odd exhaustion, and the exhilaration had gone a little bit. She felt misplaced and she missed everything familiar, and that the sense of security she felt she had once, closing her door behind her in the sanctuary of being safe and pleasantly alone, suddenly she felt she had made a huge mistake, forgetting all the initial joy she experienced. As we live through our personal and professional lives, there will always be times of frustration and sometimes despair. During those times, it will feel like we have lost everything and that our motivation has gone right out the window, that our once long-held wish for freedom has been taken away and that it won't happen after all. We just can't give ourselves the gift of freedom, won't give ourselves our lives back because we are in too deep. We're in too deep in looking after other people's lives, and they can even wipe their own bums now anyway. But in truth, it would only take, say, a lovely message from a loved one, a friend we respect to pick us up again, helpful neighbours, a compliment that we didn't know we needed. These can help us feel like we can go on. It is not the ultimate solution, but by getting more consistent about real self-care from our cellular level means we just might get out after all. When the going gets tough, there are some things to remember, and I have found that these 8 things help enormously. 1. to trust the journey even when we don't understand it. We do this all the time. We step out of our homes and we drive, walk, ride, fly, and there are no guarantees that we're coming home. We don't think about it, but if things crop up that we feel shouldn't be there, we can freak right out. I see these times as a bit of a gift, and especially if it doesn't seem like a gift, it will be in some way a redirect, an opportunity to display faith, or a curiosity about what's next then. The second thing is look for the blessings in every struggle we face and be willing to open your mind to them. To thine own self be true. This quote, to thine own self be true, is a line from Act 1, Scene 3 of Shakespeare's play Hamlet. It is spoken by King Claudius, King Claudius, Chief Minister Polonius, as part of a speech where he was giving his son Laertes, his blessings and advice on how to behave whilst at university. So clearly Polonius, if you know the play, was a do as I say, but not as I do kind of dude. But anyway, so looking for the blessings, the positives, the necessity of life going on its head at times, it's our opportunity to grow and be honourable to ourselves. And in the process, we may be a wonderful role model to someone who needs to lift themselves up. Polonius rhymes with erroneous. Yes, that's correct, Bob. Thank you for that. The third one is to recognise our support systems, taking people for granted. When we value something or someone too lightly, to fail to properly notice or appreciate what a gift someone is, or perhaps you feel overlooked. This is a big one in many of our relationships. We take others for granted, or we feel completely taken for granted. We can be relied upon to the point where we are vaguely in the room. We seem to be observing our own lives and how others treat us. And if we don't speak up, we will be the doormat. We've got to set boundaries. Speaking up for yourself and establishing appropriate give and take can be difficult when the boundaries between you and your people or whoever are crossed, and say it's been going on for a really long time. So we've got to learn to practice assertive communication. And that's assuming you can talk to them. With some, we say as little as possible and avoid any confrontations until you don't have to put up with them anymore. A saying I love is by Viktor Frankl. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I love that. On reading that quote the first time, I was both excited and relieved, knowing I can change myself. I have the power and I will work it out. And you have to too. I would imagine, if not, you already have, or you're in the process, or you've done it a ton of times in your lives. So if getting mad ain't your style, get even. Getting even might be asking someone from now on, say, could you do the dishes? It simply is not cute as an adult having parents doing the dishes when your adult kids are, well, they're bloody adults. Somewhere along the way, did you say, no, I've got it, and then they just never attempted to do it again? This is a big issue out there in so many countries. I've read about it. I've seen posts where parents are calling out to the world for advice what to do. And if you have adult kids still living at home, and if you're still working, hell, even if you're not, if they are not pulling their weight and willingly, something must be done. We adults in this era can go so far and above and beyond that we wonder why we're exhausted. And unless we pull back, they generally are not going to say, no, Mum, you sit down, you're running the entire show here, let me grow up and do my share. Not just on Mother's Day or on a birthday, but even then, many of us are organising that for ourselves too, putting up with so much nonsense. Don't let others take you for granted without at least saying, hey, you're taking me for granted and it makes me feel like running away and leaving you all to it. Oh God, there's the dream. It feels huge and is a big one for so many of us in our 60s. We've given all to our kids, and while loads of kids, adults we're talking about, are fully functional and independent, there are many that linger on at home and not a clue or a care that they're wearing their parents out. That's code for mum. Good old mum. Where does she get the break? She sincerely deserves the respect and the bloody pleasure to see her kids bloody grow up and stop being users. See that? That's the enablers in us mums. And also for the dads out there that, do the bulk and somehow, your wife or your partner doesn't do their part. I don't mean to sound sexist, but just for, the sake of this subject, It's just easier to try and stay, on the same page in regard to mums or dads. In this case, I'm saying mums because I'm a mum. We're at a point, do we say, okay, son, daughter, make plans to vacate. I figure I've got 10 minutes left on the planet. I would like to feel refreshed instead of out of my mind with exhaustion. I'm over having no privacy. I'm done with being cook and bottle washer, and I'm simply fed up with you being around. Move out, visit sometimes. Thanks, love you, bye. And maybe they don't live with you, but maybe you're chief babysitter. Maybe you are running around sorting out all their loose ends, putting your friends on hold because you're too busy running your own life and theirs. No time or energy to have a sassy senior weekend. Lots of times throughout the course of the year, that should be something that's happening all the time. So this is your reminder and mine that where we are at in our life, is it where you want to be? No excuses, just flat out, yes or no. It's the taking back of your energy from sources that need to provide for themselves. We need to stand strong at this stage, well, any stage really, but particularly as we enter into our senior years. And again, it has to be said that there are many folk out there in their 60s, 70s and beyond who are raising their grandchildren for complicated reasons. And of course, it has to be said that this is not a one-size-fits-all set of scenarios. I totally understand and respect that. So 4, to be present and tap into our own minds and hearts, which holds the power to get back on our feet and get on with it. Hashtag, how's that love letter going to yourself? What does it mean to be present in your own life? Living in the present moment means letting go of the past and not waiting for the future. It means living your life consciously, aware that each moment you breathe is a gift. That was said by Oprah Winfrey. The ability to be in the present moment is a major component of mental illness. Living in the present feels like you're happier, and you are. You have happier moods, you feel healthier, you've got more energy, and all of this sure smells like you're getting back on your feet and it feels great. 5, do not compare your progress with others. It's like if you're a recreational tennis player and comparing yourself to the Williams sisters, right? The awareness and self-love it takes for individuals to give gratitude and praise in the self-journey is so profound, and many of us won't learn, so try be one that will. You, later down the road, will thank yourself for it. I see you as flawless inside and out. Good self-talk is key. Hashtag love letters to the self. Love yourself and keep going. 6, to be okay with not ending up where you thought you were going. Many new discoveries, meeting new people happen this way. I see vulnerability, for example, as a superpower. I have doubts that creep in and I set upon them and not let them grow, and I do my best. I wonder if I'm really doing what I'm supposed to do, what I love and enjoy. Is it worth keeping going? Like, the podcast, for example, and then I have to ask myself some good questions. Am I fulfilling my wish, my dream, my promise to myself? And if the answer is yes, then that's all I need to know. I cannot stay in that place for too long because for me it's not fun, and 2, it does not serve me at all. So I leave and ditch the disco of poo and move on. We need to cheer each other on, and I thank the ones that cheer me on. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. 7, to discover the things we thought we did not want or need turn out to be exactly what we need. Have you ever found that? Extending love for ourselves is not something that is commonplace enough on this planet. We desire external validation and yet haven't found a way to provide to ourselves. Life situations, the past, etc., can be rotting away in ourselves until the moment arrives when we realise that we are investing much more energy than we are receiving. Does that ring true? I ate a rotten apple once. Doesn't taste good, does it? Yeah, no. There is no one to blame. It takes way too much energy and time that you'll never get back. Only responsibility to take to create the changes we want to see. It's like watering your own plants. When I heard that as a reference years ago, it was yeah, that's right. Not imaginary plants that bring zero to the table. Water you. When we are too busy committed to the fear-based thoughts of not being loved or accepting yourself, that is the slippery slide into loving or not loving and accepting yourself. It is the learning to love yourself. We don't learn that. We learn how to get love from others. It's a bit higgledy-piggledy, I find. 8. Laughing is a great dispeller of myths involving how serious we can get about things, right? That do not require any attention at all. And remember, what we resist persists. Oh my God, that's so true, isn't it? If we resist changing, if we resist, claiming our own lives, say in the example I used before with having adult children that just won't move out. If we resist changing that, it will persist and could end up in a right mess. It was the renowned Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, 1875 to 1961, who taught us that whatever you resist persists. And what he meant by that is the more you resist anything in life, the more you bring it to you. My grandma used to say, what's meant for you won't go past you. I always found that comforting. Nothing that is meant for you will pass you by as long as you are putting yourself out there and actively seeking opportunities, or as long as you're speaking up and actively seeking change in whatever area of your life that you need it. No matter your circumstances, you can always take one more step. Epicurus, Greek philosopher, so profoundly said, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for." What's one source of motivation or gratitude you sometimes turn to when you need it most? For myself, I'm a gym goer, I paint, I will turn to a good friend, I write quite a bit, and I find this to be, especially talking to a good friend, a really great leveler. Some say this too will pass. I find that comforting too, because why? Because it's true. This too shall pass is a Persian adage translated and used in several languages. It reflects on the temporary nature of the human condition, that neither the bad nor good moments in life ever indefinitely last. We can sometimes be a slave to our own negativity, and then that can run into self-limiting actions. Oh my God, isn't that so true? Oh yes, it is. We can hold ourselves back just by telling ourselves that it won't work, or I'm not good enough, or I'll do more of my share to keep the peace because of some past rejection or past failure, or fear of what's going to go horribly wrong in the future. Either way, it's just so limiting. It's like digging out the rot to have a clean slate, because when things go pear-shaped, and they will, we all go into default thinking. So this is why I'm an advocate for clearing out those not so empowering thoughts, so that eventually our default thinking is something like this. But beware, if you truly work on yourself, your life will change and your questions will get better, as in, why am I still here? What else can I do with my life? And this is what I've taught myself. It is only from experience that I'm speaking about here. It works. You got to do the work, and you are worth it. So something like this too will pass when things get heavy. Has life got heavy, or is it your thinking? Your response to a situation that is heavy? More likely both. That there is what requires rooting out. You'll smile and have to acknowledge that you've come a long way. And when you see that you are feeling good and seeing your own progress firsthand, that's just a yummy moment. It's just fabulous. Us Queen Ages, we do like our yummy moments.
I used to smoke dope.
Oh, that's nice, Bob. And sometimes it might be something that you see or something you are told, and it will inspire you, push you perhaps, to head in a new direction, possibly what is better for you. You could even call it the right direction. Man, we all need that.
You push me in the right direction.
Yes, I'd like to push you, Bob. Easing that tension in your brain while catching yourself saying the act of victimization, seeing yourself as broken, it's not helpful. We've got some very interesting language that is sort of bandied around now, and we have to be very clear, and we've got to be careful that we don't label ourselves in ways that are actually dehumanizing. If your self-esteem is so low that someone can break you, it's merely time to get very committed to educating yourself consistently. See a psychologist, talk to someone you trust, and life will rise to meet you. We must be so careful what we label ourselves as being. I'm too sassy to be labelled. Redirecting your thoughts to real-world examples of your own life where that is not true is forever empowering. Those occasional funks in life happen, and practicing daily keeps our perspective healthy. And that's not to say that, you're going to have days where it's just like, yeah, blah, we all have those. That is a fact.
Yeah, but do I like funky music?
Well, do you? Well, funny you should say, Bob.
Oh, thank you. When I think of you, Mrs. Marbles, I think of home. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, do me. Do me. Well, I tell you what, Bob, you never cease to amaze me. No, you truly, you don't. Even if you've travelled heaps, sometimes there comes a time when we feel like we need to start afresh, because quite often you hear people say, if you travelled more, you have a broader sense of life, which is actually very true in itself. But sometimes you still have travelled a lot in your life, especially once you've reached, my age group. And there's just comes a time when you feel like you need to do something new, to move closer to good friends, or to go and live on that farm or on the island, or, get closer to family, whatever it is that you have felt maybe you would never do for yourself. We don't always know what to do, and sometimes the doing of nothing and all gets done can be very, very helpful. The Tao invariably takes no action, and yet there is nothing left undone. There is a paradoxical logic to a lot of Lao Tzu's best known writings, and I would imagine that's pretty familiar to you. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Do the difficult things while they are easy, and do the great things while they are small. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. Faith and hope are wondrous companions. We all need reminders that we often have more going in our favour than we are acknowledging. We can get stuck in what we think we don't have, or what we imagine others are thinking.
I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
You wouldn't, Bob. That's okay. Have a sandwich.
Oh, okay.
Are you naturally a move fast, go fast kind of person? I know I am. My mind races, and at the pace at which I'd like to get things done can make people's head spin. If something needs doing, I'm your guy. I like getting stuff done, and we don't always know when or how to slow down. And I can be one of those people. We pack our schedules so tightly, take on too much, that we can be skidding very closely to burnout a lot. Hashtag, have you dug up that love letter that you wrote to yourself? Wait, you didn't? Or metaphorically speaking, that love letter is a promise made to self that if you've got an ache in your back, take yourself for a massage. Find the time. Don't wait till your back is as knotty as if you haven't had any hunches. It's knowing you have to get to the dentist. An appointment at 2:30. Yeah, I know that's just plain bad, but you get my drift, marble dwellers, right? So if you are looking at that love letter that you've written to yourself, it can also look like you might be outgrowing yourself. And if outgrowing yourself means that you're well on your way to becoming what you've always been, but failed to recognise due to ignorance and identification with a limited self-image. It can get quite complex. But look, I'll leave you with this little simple statement, which is a big bag can make your bum look smaller. I know, right? I thought that was rather good myself. I thought that was really, really good. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, no, really, you're too kind. Thank you very much. Anyway, you know what, Marble Dwellers, it's that time of the day. And I just want to thank you, as always. Thank you so much for coming to spend some time with me. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And say good day to the family for me, and give the turtle a little pat. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.